3 o'clock on a Sunday. Faithful Niner Empire. What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay. Once again, it's a pleasure to be on with the faithful, the Niner Empire. The best fans, y'all know it, in the NFL. How's everyone doing on a Sunday? I appreciate everyone coming through. Hopefully everyone has had a great weekend. Hopefully everyone's staying safe, staying healthy. And of course, I'm coming on today to talk about the Niners. I want to talk about the top 10 NFC West players. And this was a hard list to put pen to paper. I can't lie. This was a hard list. We're definitely going to go over it. And I want to know what's your guys' top 3 players, offense and defense on the NFC West. Top 3 players overall in the division. Go ahead, leave your thoughts in the comment section. I love to hear you guys' perspective. And of course, this show is nothing. It's nothing without the fans. Everyone in the chat, I love when you guys converse with me. And first, shout out to everyone watching on the Spotlight Sports Network, everyone watching on Jay in the Bay Facebook page, and of course, everyone watching on Jay in the Bay YouTube channel. Thank you all for joining me today. But we have to talk to the people in them comments because this show is nothing without them. So let's say what's good to the first person, and that person is Luke Luna. What's good? Thanks for tuning in to the stream, Luke. How you doing today? Thanks for coming through, chilling out with your boy Jay in the Bay on a Sunday. Next up, we got Monica. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, Monica. Hopefully your weekend is going well. And Monica says her boy Luke is in the house. That's right. Roberto Hastings. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. Hopefully your weekend is going well. I like your avatar right there. That's a nice Nick Bosa jersey right there. I like that. Nicho TV. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, Nicho. That's right, Monica. On a Sunday. Let's see. Nicho TV. All right. Nicho TV is starting it off by giving his prediction of the best player in the NFC West division. And I'm telling you, this was a hard top 10 list. I think next year I'm going to have to do top 10 offensive players and then top 10 defensive players because there is a lot of talent in the NFC West. When you look at all teams, 4 teams in the division, talent on both sides of the ball, it was a really hard top 10 list to put down. And of course, you know me, I'm objective. Jay in the Bay is objective. I can't put, the entire 10 players, 49er players. So, so it was a difficult list, but Nicho TV gives his take. He says he thinks Fred Warner is the best 49ers player. And that's interesting because you could say Fred Warner. You could say Nick Bosa. You could say George Kittle. Those will probably be the 3 best players on the team right now. Hey, some would say Jimmy Ward would crack that top 5, but it was definitely an interesting list. Nicho TV's given his top 3, and I appreciate everyone. If you're watching the stream, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button. Go ahead, subscribe to Jay in the Bay. I appreciate it. And give me your top 3 players overall in the NFC West, just like Nicho is doing right here. He says the top 3 offense. Okay, so the top 3 offense is Russ Wilson, D-Hop, Kittle. I actually don't know. That's tough. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the top 3 offensive players, I mean, Russ Wilson's got to be one, right? I mean, he's the best quarterback in the league. He touches the ball on every snap. And D-Hop, I think D-Hop is probably the best wide receiver in the division. And I think you got Kittle. He's the best tight end in the division. So top 3 offensive players, it could be that. I think I would agree with that. I think that's pretty accurate. And Nicho, and I appreciate Nicho's take. I appreciate his contributions to the show. He's also telling me his top 3 defensive players, and he's got Aaron Donald, Fred Warner, and Jimmy Ward. This is tough too. Now that is very tough. Very tough. because you could say, I'm not sure if you forgot about this guy, but you could say Jalen Ramsey is definitely in the top three of that defense you just mentioned. I think Aaron Donald's number one. You got to put Jalen Ramsey in there, shut down corner. And then for number three, I mean, you got Buda Baker, you got Jimmy Ward, you got Jamal Adams, Chandler Jones. So, like I said, there's just a plethora of talent in the NFC West. It's very tough. Let's see, Luke, he's giving me his top three offensive players and top three defensive players. I appreciate that. So Luke says he's got Russell Wilson, Kittle, and Hopkins. Yep. I think that's going to be the top three offensive players in the NFC West. You're the second person who said that. And on defense, he's got Warner, Ramsey, and Bosa. All right. That's a good top three. A lot of talent, like I said, in the NFC West. Nicho TV says, if you put the NFC West on one team, baby, they're going 20-0. I know, right? Yeah, that's another interesting topic. Nicho, you might have just given me another topic for a stream that I can do with you guys. Like, let's put together, from quarterback to offensive line, wide receivers, put the best players you think that would start on the NFC West, like super team, and then also on the defensive side of the ball, NFC West, all four teams. Who do you think the best starters? So that's a good idea, Nicho. I might have to do that. Maybe I'll do that this week because it's always fun to, talk about these things. Who are the best players? Everyone has a different opinion, and it's fun to go back and forth. So, hey, I appreciate the idea, Nicho. Appreciate it. Monica says facts. Let's see. So Monica says, wait, are we doing top three offensive or just overall? We could do it however you want. You could do top three offensive in the NFC West. You could do top three defensive in the NFC West, or if you want to just do top three overall, that's fine as well. Any of those three will work. We're just having fun here. So yeah, you can do any of those three, Monica. Truth be told, what's good? First time I seen you in the stream. I appreciate you coming through. We're just talking about, you see it, the red and gold, the Niner Empire. Appreciate you coming through. We're also, of course, talking about the NFC West today. And go ahead, leave your top players overall in the NFC West. Who do you think? You could go top three offensive, top three defensive, or top three overall. It's up to you. Go ahead, put that in the comments, truth be told. I appreciate you coming through. Nicho TV says, I think Kyle J is underrated for the best 49ers player because he can block for you and can get a catch to a touchdown running over people. No, that's an excellent point. Kyle Juszczyk, he could be one of the best 49ers players because he's a utility guy. Just like you said, he can do it all. He can block. He can run. He's good. He can catch the ball. He's good at running over people. And, there's a reason why Juszczyk most likely will retire a 49er. And I'm glad he was brought back on the team. Cincinnati crew, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. How's your Sunday going, man? Appreciate you coming through. Travis Berg Jr., what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. He says, what's your shirt size, jersey size, hoodie? Jersey, let's do 2X. Hoodie, we could do an extra large. Appreciate you, Travis Berg. Appreciate you. Nicho TV says, man, I forgot about all those people you mentioned for the D. Yeah, man, like I said, man, there's just a plethora of talent on both sides of the ball. And yeah, when I was jotting down my list, I should have done a top 10 offensive, top 10 defensive. I have to do that maybe next year, but I went with the top 10 overall players, and there were definitely some players that didn't make the cut. I couldn't put everybody on the list. And, when I give my list, first I'll start off with the honorable mentions because there were some players that, you could argue they deserve to be in the top 10, but then there were other players that deserve. So, I will definitely get into that. But yeah, there's just a lot of talent. Monica says, Luke, that's solid. She likes Luke's list. CG Ruthless, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, CG. Let's see. Let's get it, GA. What's good? He says, my dog Jay in the Bay. What's up, homie? I'm doing good, man. Just talking about the Niner Empire. And of course, the NFC West. But I appreciate you coming through to the stream. Luke Luna, he says, yeah, Donald, Warner, Ramsey, and Bosa may be tied, but I'd rather have Bosa because when you put pressure on the quarterback, the cornerbacks don't have to be as locked down. No, that's very true. Defense, it starts up front. It starts in the trenches. If the defense can get a good pass rush, like Luke said, the corners don't have to cover as much. There's no doubt Ramsey, he's one of the most talented corners we've seen in the last decade. And I think there's no question he is the best corner. He's definitely the best corner in the NFC West. That's no question. But even in the NFL, I think he would probably be, you could argue, number one or number two corner taken, if all corners were available from all 32 teams. But, great point, Luke. Pac-Man Sports, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. I think the clock is ticking on that Aaron Rodgers situation. We were talking about that yesterday with Pac-Man Sports. And we'll see what happens coming next week. All eyes will be tuned to Green Bay, Wisconsin. And, the decision of Aaron Rodgers. Will he retire? Will he come back to the team? There was also some other news today about Deshaun Watson for the Texans. He's scheduled to report to camp, basically just to avoid getting fined $50,000 a day. But he still wants to be traded, but Deshaun Watson is showing up to camp. So that's interesting. 49er Faithful, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. He says, what's good, Jay? Do you think Dez would be good for us at wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 3? Which Dez are you referring to? Are you talking about Dez Bryant? Let me know which Dez you're referring to. Nicho TV says, my bad, Jay, got to go, but I'll try to tune in to the next stream or later this stream. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you coming through, Nicho. I appreciate your thoughts and your perspective on the best players in the NFC West. I'll see you in the next one. Monica says, honestly, I think Luke had a solid list. I agree. I can't think of one I changed. I'm trying, and I'm like, yeah, he hit on all. And Monica says, what's good to the Pac-Man? And there was some news regarding the 49ers that I heard about maybe like an hour or two ago. The 49ers have released defensive end Deshaun Hall. And this was reported by Ian Rappaport at 1:40 today. This was Deshaun Hall's second stint with the team. We signed him to the practice squad December 16th of last year. And we also signed him to a futures contract on January 4th. So, he's 6'5", 265. He was a third-round pick out of Texas A&M in 2017. And throughout Hall's career, he's recorded 9 tackles and 1.5 sacks in 3 seasons. So Deshaun Hall has been released by the 49ers. That was some news that just came out like basically less than 2 hours ago. And also NFC West news. I don't know if you guys heard, but edge rusher Chandler Jones of them good old Arizona Cardinals has requested a trade. I mean, hot diggity dog. I mean, this is interesting news. Chandler Jones, for those that don't know, he is in the last year of his contract, and he wants to get his last lucrative contract from an NFL team, preferably, I'm sure, the Arizona Cardinals. But, he is, if you look at Chandler Jones, he is 30 years old, so he'll be 31 when the season starts. And this year he's scheduled to make, looks like he's scheduled to make about $20 million. That's his cap hit this year. And he's 31 years old. Actually, he's 31 years old this year. And he's, looking to get another contract. I can't blame the man. But usually you don't pay edge rushers, you don't pay edge rushers massive money after they turn 30. Usually you don't do that. I would be surprised if the Cardinals extended Chandler Jones for multiple years. Like maybe if it was like a 2-year extension, maybe something like that. I wonder what they're off as far as the money, because if he's making $20 million this year, how much more does he want to make? Especially coming off of the 2020 season where he only played 5 games and he had 1 sack. So in 2020 season, Chandler Jones, he only played 5 games, only had 1 sack. Now, there's no doubt his time with the Arizona Cardinals has been very productive. He came over to the team in 2016. And let's look at his sacks starting from the year 2016. He had 11 sacks. The following year, he had 17 sacks. The next year after that, he had 13. And the next year after that, he had 19. So there's no doubt he's a very productive player. One of the best edge rushers in the NFL. He had an off year last year, but he was hurt. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, if the Cardinals decide to trade Chandler Jones, that would be that would affect all other teams in the NFC West, obviously in a positive way. But I don't think they would trade him, especially he only had 1 sack last year and he was hurt. So his value can't be that high. So we'll see how this plays out, though. That was some of the breaking news out of the NFC West that I just heard about. Niner Faithful says, yeah, Dez Bryant, just a random thought of mine. Nah. I think we have enough talent in the wide receiver room. I don't think we need to bring over. I mean, Dez Bryant, this isn't Dez Bryant of 5 to 7 years ago when Dez Bryant was in his prime. So yeah, I don't know what Dez Bryant has left, but if we need someone to replace Kendrick Bourne, and I think the Niners feel that they have that person in the building, and that could be Richie James, that could be Juwan Jennings, that could be Jalen Hurd. So I think one of those three should replace Kendrick Bourne's production, and I think that's who's going to win that number 3 wide receiver spot. Pac-Man giving dap to Monica. Brady Ching, what's good? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. Brady Ching asked me, he asked Jay in the Bay, do I like the Bears? No, sir. I don't know if you can tell, but it's Niner country over here, Brady. But I appreciate you coming through to the stream. Even if you are a Bears fan, you can enjoy the stream. I do talk about some other topics in the NFL. So go ahead. It's your first time tuning in. See if you like the stream. If you like it, go ahead, drop a subscribe. And I appreciate you hitting that thumbs up button. Thanks for tuning in, Brady. Monica says Hurd and Sanu will be wide receiver 3rd and wide receiver 4, I believe. If Sanu beats out, Richie James, Juwan Jennings, Travis Benjamin, River Craycraft, Austin Watkins, if he beats out all those receivers, then hey, that's more power to him. I know Sanu, he had a cup of tea with the Niners in 2020, but he only played 3 games, only had 1 catch, and the Niners cut him. So, but Sanu in workouts, I know he's been working out with Trey. Sanu has been looking good in workouts, but we'll see what happens when the pads come on. And there's no doubt Sanu knows the system. He was in Atlanta when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Sanu had good years, but we'll see. That wide receiver 3 position is up for grabs, and I can't wait to see who's going to win that out in training camp and preseason. Corey Davis, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. He says, happy Sunday to you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday, and go Niners. I appreciate you coming through, man. Hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday. Pac-Man Sports said, I didn't think Hall was going to last very long. Bummer. Yeah, we have a lot of talent on the defensive line, and I'm intrigued to see how many defensive linemen we're going to keep on the active 53-man roster. Because if D Ford is healthy, Fred Warner said D Ford is looking good. Fred Warner said D Ford is, back to being the player he once was. We'll see what comes to fruition. But let's look at the defensive line. We got D Ford, got Bosa, Samson, Arden Key, Hurst, Zach Kerr, Kinlaw. Did I say Armstead already? I think I said Armstead already. Maybe not. Armstead, DJ Jones, Jordan Willis. He was suspended the first 6 weeks, but he will be back. So that's 9. I think we still have Contavious Street, I believe we still have. So that's already 10 defensive linemen. So I'm intrigued to see how many defensive linemen will keep on the active 53-man roster. You figure it's going to be at least 6. You figure Kinlaw, Armstead, DJ Jones, Bosa, Samson, Arden Key. So there's probably going to be at least between 6 to 8 defensive linemen on the roster, on the active 53 man roster. Monica says, "Who saw the Browns throwbacks? They're trying to bite our style. They look like our white throwbacks, but with orange. I haven't seen them yet. I got to check them out. Haven't seen them, but great minds think alike. Let's see. Luke says, I agree. Him and Gilmore. I think you're referring to Jalen Ramsey and Gilmore, the best corners. But this front seven of ours is going to make E-Man, Verrett, K. Williams, and Tart and Ward look good and make their jobs even easier. They are good even without that. They better watch us. Okay. Yeah, I think, like as you said, the defensive line definitely helps the secondary a lot. We're definitely going to have to get after the pass rusher. And I think expectations are high for Kinlaw, Armstead, Samson, and of course Bosa. Those should be the 4 most productive defensive linemen on the roster right now. And Monica says, "Hey Corey, same to you." Niner Faithful says, "Can we go after Justin Houston now since we got the Warner extension out the way?" Hey, you never know. Maybe releasing Deshaun Hall was to make room for Justin Houston. Hey, you never know. But I've definitely been saying that for a long time. Go ahead and bring in Justin Houston, veteran pass rusher. He had 2 great years with the Colts the last 2 years. I believe he got double-digit sacks total. Out of the 2 years he was there, he played in every game, still durable. But I think Justin Houston, he's a veteran edge rusher. He doesn't need mini camp, training camp, preseason. He's just ready to go. He knows how to take care of his body. And I'm sure he's just waiting out for the biggest contract he can get. Brady Chin, yeah, I heard about that. I appreciate you bringing that up, Brady. He says that the Bears just traded Anthony Miller to the Texans. Yep, I heard about that. I mean, if you're Anthony Miller, I guess you get a chance to be the number 1 wide receiver in Houston. I think the Texans, they still have Brandon Cooks. So I guess him and Miller could be the 1-2 punch for the Texans. Speaking of the Texans, Deshaun Watson is expected to report to training camp, Houston Texans training camp, but he says he still wants to be traded. So Niner Sickness, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. He says, happy Sunday, everyone. Hope you're having a good Sunday, good weekend, Niner Sickness. Appreciate you coming through. Let's see. Luke says, LOL, Chandler Jones requesting a trade like Watt, making him feel insecure already. Just kidding. But where's he going? To Jacksonville Jaguars, Jets, Patriots. Those are the desperate teams that will overpay and or could have. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of late to request a trade right now. Like, this probably would have been a better move for Chandler Jones and his representation if they would have requested this trade like in March or April, before the draft, before the start of free agency. That probably would have been a better deal for them. But Chandler Jones is still under contract for this year. He's got a $20 million cap hit. He's on the wrong side of 30. I don't know too many teams that are going to pay, an aging edge rusher. I'm sure he wants to get paid like he's a top edge rusher money. I just don't see it, especially last year. He had an injury-riddled season. He only played 5 games, only had 1 sack. This is the wrong time to request a trade. I mean, his value is not high right now. If he would have did this the year prior in 2019, where he had a double-digit sack season, if he held out then, that would have been a better move. But unfortunately, the timing is terrible. We're almost a few days away from training camp. Most teams' salary cap, is very limited because of the time of the season. Teams have just signed their draft picks. Teams have already signed free agents for the most part, like the big money free agents. So this is terrible timing by Chandler Jones. But I'm eager to see how this plays out, because if he gets traded or whatever, he sits out, this will definitely affect the Cardinals defense. Let's see. Luke saying, what's good to Niner Sickness and CG Ruthless. Monica says, the Niner Empire. Niner Faithful says we could also just use Juice Check more in the passing game. I agree. I like that. I like Juice Check getting a few catches a game. I can see that. I like that. Those will be some easy throws for Jimmy G. Get Jimmy G comfortable, and we can start that off with a few short throws to Juice Check. I like that. Awesomeness Sports, what's good? How you doing today? How's your Sunday going? Hopefully you're having a good weekend. Let's see. Brady Ching says 49ers have always been one of my favorite teams. Well, I appreciate you coming through, man. I'm glad you discovered Jay in the Bay. I talk about the Niners 99% of the time, and I sprinkle in a Scotia NFL news. And I'm definitely excited for like the primetime games, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. I probably try to do live streams like this an hour before those games, an hour after those games, and hopefully you can join me. Let's see. Luke says at Monica, me too. I think they think their responsibility into the playoffs, and then come playoffs, who to trust more in certain situations or big moments. I think Sanu should be the workhorse. Interesting. Sanu. The last time I saw him in pads, he got cut. He got the. But if he looks good in camp, or I should say he looks good in workouts and t-shirt and shorts, he's looking good. He's looking quick. He's looking spry. And if he wins that number 4 or number 3, more power to him. I think that means he made the most out of his opportunity in training camp, and I definitely would root for him. That's for sure. Monica says, I like it, Luke. See, Luke says, kind of like they are going to do with Mostert Sherman situation. I hope that's what they do. Okay. I think the wide receiver position, they'll probably have at least 5 to 7 wide receivers on the active roster. I'm sure they'll keep at least 1 or 2 wide receivers on the practice squad. And I think it'll be, if there's not a standout who wins that number 3 wide receiver spot, maybe there's a few players who could replicate what Kendrick Bourne does or did for us last year. And that maybe that's a combination of, could be Muhammad Sanu, could be Richie James, Juwan Jennings, or Jalen Hurd. Maybe it could be, one of those 4. Brady Ching says the 49ers should get Richard Sherman. What position do you think he should play, Brady? Let me know in them comments. Let me know what position you think Richard Sherman should get or should play for the Niners. But I think Richard Sherman, I think he's got other issues besides football. It seems like he understands that, and he's working towards bettering that part of his life. And hopefully Richard Sherman, gets better for himself and his family. Who knows if Richard Sherman will play this year, but I'd be surprised if he came back to the Niners. I'd be surprised. We've already drafted. We brought back 3 of our free agent corners last year, and we drafted 2 rookie corners. So I don't see him playing cornerback on the 49ers. Monica says, no Sherman. He can't play man anymore. Plus, he needs to focus on getting himself some help. Exactly. Yeah, not only that, and as Monica mentioned, he's not, as fleet of foot anymore, and he can't really play man coverage with the best wide receivers anymore. He's better playing zone coverage. Maybe Richard Sherman can play the safety position. I think that would probably be better for him. But I think he should probably focus on, getting himself some help, and I think his family would appreciate that. I don't think football is number 1 right now for Richard Sherman. Brady Ching says, I would chose Justin Fields over Trey Lance all day. Well, there's no doubt Justin Fields played on a higher level. He played on a bigger stage. He played at Ohio State University where everyone was watching. But I think either quarterback would do just fine in Shanahan's system. And, I'm glad we got Trey Lance, and I'm supporting Trey Lance. Pac-Man Sports says he thinks Richards can still play. I think he can still play. I don't think he can play at the cornerback position anymore. Unless the team, there's no doubt. Richard Sherman, he's still, very physical player. He's still smart. maybe in a zone heavy scheme, he could play corner, but he kind of limits your defensive scheme. And that could be a problem. But I'm intrigued to see if Richard Sherman will play in the NFL this year. And yeah, Monica says, but not man coverage. Yep. And Monica says he doesn't have that speed anymore. That's correct. Yeah. You got to have speed to play that cornerback position. See, and Brady says, yeah, he is slow. And Pac-Man Sports, I agree. Great minds think alike. He's a better zone corner. That's like Brady says, do you think the Bears would beat the Cardinals? That should be a good game. I don't know. That should be a good game. I wonder where they're playing at, because that could be a difference. Luke says, I'd rather bring in Houston and pass on Sherman. Yeah, I agree with that. I'd rather have Justin Houston and Richard Sherman at this point. Tommy Huxley, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. Tommy. Yes, I am live on a Sunday. And Pac-Man Sports is responding to my question I have for the viewers. If you're just tuning in, I'm going to give you guys a list of my top 10 NFC West players. Feel free to do as Pac-Man does. You can give me your top 3 offensive players in the NFC West, top 3 defensive players in the NFC West, or you can do top 3 overall players in the NFC West. I would appreciate I appreciate you joining me in that task, just like Pac-Man Sports is doing. So he says, here's my top 10 NFC West player list. All right. So he's got Aaron Donald, number 1. Okay. Number 2, he's got DeAndre Hopkins. All right. I think Aaron Donald's probably the best defensive player in the division, and DeAndre Hopkins is most likely the best wide receiver in the division. Russell Wilson, number 3, he's the best quarterback in the division. 4, he's got Jalen Ramsey. 5, he's got Trent Williams. 6, he's got DK Metcalf. 7, Fred Warner. 8, Nick Bosa. 9, Andrew Whitworth. And 10, Rodney Hudson. All right. I respect your list, man. I respect your list. There are definitely some players there who are on my list. And I appreciate your list, man. Let's see. Monica says, haha, I said the same thing, Tommy. Monica says, I hope you're having a great Sunday. Luke says, Jay, I agree on the age, and the Cardinals are already overpaying an aging Watt to try and bring leadership and stability. And now Jones is thinking, how are they going to overpay him? Cards will lose Jones. Yeah, I mean, this was terrible timing for Chandler Jones. He should have, if he wanted to hold out, request a new contract, he should have did it at the end of the 2019 season, I believe. Let me double check his stats. I know for sure he had a double-digit sack season at the end of 2019. And let's look this up real quick. So, yeah, at the end of the 2019 season, Chandler Jones had 19 sacks. You got to strike when the iron is hot, Chandler. At the end of the 2019 season, Chandler Jones had 19 sacks. And he had 2 years left on his contract then. That would have been the perfect time to say, hey, I'm one of the best edge rushers in the game. Y'all need to pay me, top 2, top 3 money. But this was terrible timing. You wait after free agency, after the draft. Teams just don't have the money, and he's already a $20 million cap hit this year. So, yeah, I don't think – I think either Chandler Jones sits out or – he's just going to have to play his last year on this contract without getting extended. Especially because last year he only played 5 games and had 1 sack. Tommy Huxley says, Pac-Man, George Kittle, best tight end in the NFC. Definitely agree with that. And Tommy Huxley clarifies, NFC West, okay? Luke says next year or the end of contract, okay? And Monica agrees with Tommy. She says, yes, Tommy Kittle's that dude. Pac-Man Sports says, yeah, I can put at 8, slide Bosa to 9, and Whitworth to 10. Yeah, I respect your opinion. My list is my list. Yours is yours. And, I respect it. Looks like Tommy Huxley doesn't agree with that Whitworth pick. Oh, man. Pac-Man Sports says he's still one of the better offensive tackles in the league, probably, yeah. But in your list, I think okay. So in your list, you did put Trent Williams. Okay, just wanted to make sure. But yeah, let's see. Brady Ching says, I think he is slow, and we're talking about Richard Sherman. He says he thinks he is slow to play corner and keep up with the fast guys. I think free safety or strong safety is good for him. Exactly. That's what I think. In history, we've seen corners who have excelled at that position, and they've moved to the safety position, and they've been able to adapt to that. And as Monica says, but it's safe to say we are already safe at the safety position. Yeah, we have depth at that position. I think Tart and Ward will be the starters. And I think, Hufunga, the safety we drafted out of USC, the rookie, he might make the active roster. There's still Tavon Wilson. There's still Tony Jefferson. And I believe there is one other safety, I think Tavarius Moore. So there are other options at that safety position. Tommy says not sold at DK on the list. Yeah, it was, man, my list, it was hard to put. There's only 10 guys. DK, he's definitely, as far as receivers in the division, I think D-Hop is a clear-cut number one. You could say DK or Tyler Lockett could be 2 or 3. There's also Woods and Kupp with the Arizona Cardinals. And I think those guys, I would love to say the IU show, but he's had one season. So the other guys have had better seasons and they played in the league longer. So I think you put them ahead of, the 49ers receivers at this point. But I think DK is probably 2 or 3 as far as the top receivers in the NFC West. Luke says, I'm sorry, but I think Lance has more intangibles than Fields, just size, smarts, work ethic, and liability in the locker room to help lead guys. I just think Lance will be better if both have good careers. Yeah, I think they'll both have good careers. And I'm definitely happy with, who we have in Trey Lance. Bad boy, hot Halo fan. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. How's your Sunday going? Monica says Lance will be a Bay Area legend. Just wait. I hope that comes to fruition, Monica. And I think he's definitely in the best situation to do that. There's no pressure for Trey Lance to start. He's on one of the best teams who have drafted rookie quarterbacks this year. If you look at Jacksonville, you look at New York, Chicago, New England, I think the Niners are probably the best team out of those. Well, not probably. They are the best team out of those I just mentioned. Brady says he would like to see Fields and Lance versus each other. That would be a good game. Well, we'll see because the Niners do play the Bears this year. And we'll see. Andy Dalton looks like to be the projected starter. Who knows how long that'll last? And I think Jimmy G has an edge to start the season this year. And who knows how long that'll last? Who knows if Jimmy will stay healthy? And I think if Jimmy's healthy, I think he'll play well enough to continue starting. And hopefully, he just keeps his turnovers to a minimum. Waruna Pereira, what's good? I love your avatar. Faithful to the Bay. I love that. Hey, I appreciate you coming through to the stream. It's the first time I've seen you in the stream. I want to say welcome. And the way I welcome you is I say, what's good? Appreciate you coming in. We're just talking about the faithful. We're talking about the Niner Empire. And I appreciate you coming through. We're talking about the list of NFC West players, the top NFC West players. Give your list. You could either do top 3 players on offense in the NFC West, top 3 players on defense in the NFC West, or top 3 players overall. If you don't mind, leave your thoughts about that in the comments section. And I appreciate you coming through. Monica says, looking forward to that, a potential Fields versus Lance matchup. That would be interesting. That'd be very, very interesting. Let's see. Tommy says, Bosa has improved that he isn't a one-year wonder. I believe he isn't, but he still has to prove it. Now, that's a very good point, and that could be a reason why someone would not put him on the top 10 list. And, I could respect that because he's had one great year. And And like you said, he has to prove he isn't a one-year wonder. So that's a good point. I guess on potential, yeah, there's no doubt he's definitely potentially he's definitely a top 10 player in the NFC West. Nick's skills, Pac-Man Sports says Nick's skill set is great. I think he's not a one-year wonder. Well, he has to prove it because last year, obviously, he was hurt. It's like Luke says in response to Tommy, I said the same thing with Bosa. That's what puts him a little down the list in injury, but I believe he stays solid. Let's see. Tommy says, Pac-Man, me too. Generational talent, just two ACLs, which is a red flag. Yeah. Let's see. Monica says she thinks Bosa has a great comeback year, but we shall see. Yeah, Monica says, Waruna, can we get your top 10 lists? Yeah, go ahead, put your top 10 list in there. Pac-Man Sports says that's his only problem, injuries. It was known before the draft. Yeah. And Tommy agrees. Tommy agrees with your sentiments, Pac-Man Sports. Brady says, what would be your NFC North 10 best players? I would have to get back to you on that, Brady. I didn't make a list, but obviously the best defensive player that first comes to mind is probably, I mean, the first person that comes to mind is Khalil Mack, but I'd have to get back to you on that, on the 10 best players. But that would be an interesting segment. Waruna says, it is a great topic for an article. I need some time to come up with that. No problem. Luke says, Jimmy over Dalton all day, and Jimmy crushes this year and shows Lance truly how it's done on this team, how to handle yourself and the team. Jimmy for president, LOL for this year. And I agree. I agree. I think Jimmy, if he's healthy, he will play well and lead us to the playoffs. That's what I think. All righty. So let's get into, first we got to get into my top 10 NFC West players. But first, I have to get into the honorable mentions because there is so much talent on the NFC West. When you're putting, you're including players on both sides of the ball, it was hard to come up with the top 10 list and try to include, everyone. It was very hard. But I would tell you this, that I have a player from each team in the top 10 that represents the top 10. I think that in my top 10, the Niners had 3 players, I think. And I think that's the most for any team. But let's get into the honorable mentions first. So here are my honorable mentions for top 10 NFC West players. They just didn't crack the list. And it was hard to keep them off, but I felt like there were some players who were just better at this point. So Bobby Wagner, there's no doubt, Legion of Boom player, one of the best defensive players in the NFC West over the last decade. There's no doubt about that. Bobby Wagner, if he doesn't go into the NFL Hall of Fame, he'll definitely go into the Seahawks Hall of Fame for sure. But Bobby Wagner, he just was right outside of my top 10. Budda Baker, up and coming safety for the Arizona Cardinals. I like what he does around the field. He flies around the field. He's good in coverage, good tackler, and I believe he's probably the best player on the Cardinals defense, I would say. Also, some more honorable mentions after Budda Baker. We've got DK Metcalf. It was hard to put DK Metcalf in the top 10. I felt like there were some players who he's got excellent potential. He is a great weapon on the field. He can stretch the field. He's a big, dominant receiver. But he was, just outside my top 10. And his teammate, Tyler Lockett, also just outside of my top 10. But there's no doubt Seahawks have weapons with Metcalf and Lockett. They make Russell Wilson's job a lot easier. Next 2 honorable mentions, Rashawn Woods, wide receiver for the Rams, and Cooper Kupp. Definitely, they will be 2 of Matt Stafford's top 2 targets for the LA Rams. They are definitely productive wide receivers, and they're a good 1-2 combo. But they just were, few steps away from that top 10. And Rodney Hudson, center. for the Arizona Cardinals. They traded for him from the Las Vegas Raiders. I know, not a lot of people want to talk about offensive line play, but the game is won and lost in the trenches. Game is won and lost in the trenches. Rodney Hudson is, he's definitely, I would say, a top 5 center in the NFL, maybe top 2, top 3, depends upon who you ask. But Rodney Hudson is a very good center. He's going to make Kyler Murray's job a lot easier. But he was right outside of my top 10. All right, so those are my honorable mentions. Let me know how you guys feel about that in them comments. Those are my honorable mentions. Let's see. 49ers first takes. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. How you doing today on this Sunday? Hopefully your weekend is going well. He says, here are his top 3 NFC offensive players. He's got Kittle, Hopkins, and Russell Wilson. Yep, that is a common trio. Now, first takes, give me your top 3 NFC West defensive players, if you don't mind. But yeah, that is a trio that I've heard a few times before. Kittle's the best tight end in NFC West. Hopkins is the best wide receiver, and then Russell Wilson's the best quarterback. So, yeah, appreciate your thoughts. Let's see. Tommy says, Booby, Jugs, Wagner is great. Wagner is great. Monica agreed with my honorable mentions. Yep. Yeah. I could. It was hard to put those guys on the list to replace the players that I'm going to discuss. 49ers first take. He says defense in the NFC West. He's got Fred Warner, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. Yep. I think those are the top 3 that you can't really deny. I don't think you could put any other player. Aaron Donald's the best defensive lineman. Jalen Ramsey's the best corner. And I think Fred Warner's the best linebacker. And I think Bobby Wagner is right there. But I think Fred Warner, I think you would rather have Fred Warner now in his career over Bobby Wagner. Let's see. That's an excellent stat, Tommy, about the San Francisco Giants. And I know they're doing well. And that's good to see, especially, they're doing well in the Bay Area. That's great to hear, Tommy. Luke says, plenty more season to go. They are playing well. He's talking about the San Francisco Giants. And Waruna looks like he's giving me a list of his top 10 players in the NFC West. All right. So Waruna says Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Aaron Donald, Hopkins, Ramsey, Budda Baker, DK Metcalf, and Jimmy Ward. All right. I respect that list. I like it. Minister Brandon, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. How you doing on a Sunday? Let's see. Brady Ching says Jalen Ramsey. Also don't like Bears fans. Okay. Luke Luna gives his perspective on Waruna's top 10 list. He says Murray is far from number 2 offensively, too inconsistently good player, but too much to prove. Yeah, that, I respect Waruna's list, and it's his list, but I respect your opinion as well, Luke. Looks like Tommy isn't a fan of that either. He says, yeah, I disagree with Smiler Blurry on that list. That's an interesting name. All right, so let's get into Jay in the Bay top 10 list. So you see my honorable mentions, and let's start off with the number 10 player, I think, in the NFC West, and it's going to be a player who the LA Rams just acquired this offseason, and he's supposed to right the ship for the LA Rams. He's supposed to turn around that franchise. He's supposed to put the franchise on their back, and that's going to be Matt Stafford. I think he is the number 10 player in the NFC West, and I'm talking about, and my list consists of top 10 players overall. So this includes offense, this includes defense, and this is a list of my top 10 NFC West players. And I'm starting off with number 10, Matt Stafford. It was clear the LA Rams wanted to upgrade the quarterback position, and I think they did. I think Matt Stafford is an upgrade over Jared Goff. Matt Stafford is a prolific passer. Unfortunately for Matt Stafford, he doesn't have the playoff resume that you would want for a quarterback of his stature in the league. I don't think he hasn't won a playoff game. So you definitely don't want that. But Matt Stafford, he's definitely on the best team he's had probably in his career on both sides of the ball, including the coaching staff, management. And I think, Matt Stafford will put the Rams in a better position to go farther in the playoffs this year. And for the Rams' sake, hopefully, far and beyond. So let's see. Tommy says, but Waruna is a knowledgeable guy, so we love him. Exactly. And I appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. And Monica says, solid list on Waruna. Pac-Man Sports says, Matt was a top 15 for me, but he's been underrated for so long. I mean, he touches the ball every down for the LA Rams. Cam Akers will be out. I think they're going to have to rely more on the passing game. I think that McVay will put more faith in Matthew Stafford to make plays than with Jared Goff. And I think Matt Stafford, he could potentially have a Pro Bowl year for the LA Rams. And he'll probably throw for over 5,000 yards. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Brady Ching says, got to feel bad for Goff. He's going to dive behind that Lions O-line. We'll see, because we played them good old Detroit Lions. We got to fly down to Motown, play them good old Detroit Lions. First game of the season. It's going to be an early kick for the Niners, and we face off against a familiar foe in Jared Goff. And the Niners have had Jared Goff's number the past 2 years with the Rams. And, I'm hoping that continues. That continues. All right, so for my number nine, now that I'm looking back at this, I mean, there's going to be arguments for this player. Should he be in the top 10? Should he not? Was last year a fluke? But I got to pick Chandler Jones. Number 9, Chandler Jones. He is an edge rusher. Last year, obviously, he only played 5 games, only had 1 sack. But his tenure with the Cardinals, he's been one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Kind of underrated. People don't talk too much about him, but he definitely makes an impact. Chandler Jones does on the defensive line. And when the defensive lineman can get pressure on the quarterback, it makes everyone else's job easier on that defense. I think Chandler Jones, he is one of the top 10 players in the NFC West. Last year, you could say maybe it was a fluke. He missed 11 games last year, but if you look at his prior years, there's no doubt he was a productive player for the Arizona Cardinals. That's who my number 9 is. Minister Brandon says, as a Lions fan, feeling sad about Stafford. Yeah, I mean, he was with the team for what, 10 years, 10, 11 years, and it just seemed like both sides were ready to just go their separate ways. And Stafford gets a new outlook with the LA Rams, and then the Lions, they're getting their new quarterback in Jared Goff. So it's like Tommy says, Brady, don't jinx the week 1 game. Pac-Man Sports says, Matt have a great year and finally get some respect. Yeah. And I think Stafford doesn't get the respect because he doesn't have the playoff success. I think that's part of the reason. Brady Ching says, no offense to Lions fans, but they have a long way to go. Let's see. Jay Fly Guy. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. He says, my man Jay, we need to do a show. I'm definitely down for that. Hit me up, man. Hit me up. You can hit me up on YouTube. Hit me up on IG, Twitter. Let me know. There are the links right there. Hit me up on social media, man. Let me know. We can link up. And let's continue on with these comments. Let's see. Monica says, is there Lion chat? Seriously question. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there are Lions YouTube content creators. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully I can link up with a few Detroit Lions content creators, week 1. Obviously both teams have a 0-0 record, and the Lions players want to play well for their new head coach, new GM. The Lions, I'm sure, will not lay down. The Niners need to come in strong on week 1 and prove why they're the better team. But yeah, hopefully I can link up with some Detroit Lions content creators so we can talk about that week 1 game, that week of the season.
Pac-Man Sports says, I can see Matt having a tremendous year and finally getting his respect. Always did when he played twice against the Pack. Yeah, he's definitely a good passer. Definitely a good passer. And now he has a team around him on both sides of the ball. Minister Brandon says, I like and shared. I'm out for today. Have a good one. You have a good one too, Minister Brandon. I appreciate you coming through to the stream. Have a good weekend. Let's see. So for my number 8, this will be the first 49er on the top 10 list. And I'm going with no one other than Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was an excellent draft pick by the 49ers. He has all the potential in the world. He's got a great lineage with his family. Joey Bosa is obviously excellent pass rusher with the LA Chargers. Their father played in the NFL. Nick Bosa had an excellent rookie season. He was part of the reason why the Niners went to the Super Bowl and had that long playoff run. Last year was a down year, had the torn ACL, and I'm sure myself and other faithful want Nick Bosa to return to greatness and have a bounce back year. But that's my number 8 pick for top 10 players in the NFC West, Nick Bosa. Let's see. Monica says, LOL, I only asked because of Don Burr, resident Lion fan that camps out in every 49er chat, but this one, thank God. I guess he hasn't discovered it yet. Luke says, who could have had success with the Lions? Still waiting for someone to prove it other than shining personally. What can you do? Lions about to get smashed. Goff's in trouble. That's what I feel as a fan. I feel like we should win that game against the Lions, by 2 touchdowns. But the players, they still need to come prepared. This is the first game of the year, and we need to play to our potential. So Monica says, have a good day, Brandon. Appreciate you coming through. Brady Ching says, Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa? That's a good question. I would say Nick, but I'm biased because I think Nick's a little bit better. But Joey has proven that he has been better this year. But I'm riding with Nick Bosa. Tommy says Joey isn't a Niner. Brady says I know, but they're brothers though. Let's see. And yeah, Tommy, yeah, Joey Bosa's in that good old AFC West. My number 7. Top 10 players in the NFC West is going to none other than the best tight end in the NFL, in my opinion. That goes to George Kittle. George Kittle, he does it all. Excellent blocker in the run game, opens holes. I love the passion. I love the energy that George Kittle brings to the 49er roster. And obviously, he's great after the catch. I believe I saw a stat. Since 2017, George Kittle led the league in tight ends for YAC. That's yards after contact. And George Kittle is the number 1 weapon on this 49ers offense. But I have him number 7 out of the top 10 players in the NFC West. My number, let's see. Waruna says, love to know your thoughts on J.J. Watt. I think he has a lot to offer. J.J. Watt, he's no longer like the defensive player of the year player anymore. I think that J.J. Watt is, he's no longer that player. I think he can still be productive. Like if he gives the Cardinals 8 sacks, I wouldn't be surprised. I think he could be productive. If you have J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones, I think that's a pretty good defensive line, I think. Let's see. Monica says, I got to head out. I appreciate you coming through to the stream. And she says, peace out to Tommy, Luke, Waruna, and everyone in the chat. I appreciate you coming through to the stream. And I'll see you on the next one. Monica says, Niner Empire. Brady says, I'm not scared of J.J. Watt. Nah, I'm not scared, but he's definitely still a player that opposing offenses have to know where he's at on every play. I still think he's a good player. He's not the defensive player of the year type of player anymore, but I think he's still a good player. Now, my number 6 best player in the NFC West goes to the best wide receiver, I think, in the NFC West, and that goes to DeAndre Hopkins. And it's interesting. Will DeAndre Hopkins play this year? He had mentioned that he might retire basically because the NFL is pressuring players to get vaccinated, and DeAndre Hopkins seems like he's not, he doesn't want to get vaccinated, and that's his choice. But there are, unfortunately, for every cause, there's an effect. Every action, there's a reaction. Every decision you make, there's consequences. So, we'll see if DeAndre Hopkins plays this year for the Cardinals. But there's no doubt when he's on the field, he's the best wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, best wide receiver in the NFC West. Just look at the stats. Even when he was with the Texans and, he was playing with no-name quarterbacks, he was still putting up numbers. And DeAndre Hopkins is a force. He is the best weapon for that Arizona Cardinals offense. No doubt about that. Number 5, I think this is the best offensive lineman in the NFC West. Can you guys guess who that is? Who do you think that is? The best offensive lineman in the NFC West. That's going to be my number 5 selection, and that will be the big silverback, Trent Williams. He's my number 5. We traded for Trent Williams in that was the 2020 season. Traded for Trent Williams from the Washington football team. We got him for pennies on the dollar. And fortunately, we were able to re-sign Trent. I know that the Kansas City Chiefs were, hot on Trent Williams' tail. They wanted to re-sign him as well, but Trent Williams decided to re-sign with the Niners. And I think that's a great decision. He is an anchor on the left side of that offensive line. He protects Jimmy G's and possibly Trey Lance's blind side. So I think that was definitely an excellent move for John Lynch to keep Trent Williams, and I'm glad he's still, on the roster for years to come. Let's see. Luke says just Watt gives the line stability. Jones will have a better year with him, but they are still the odd men out in the NFC West. Yeah, I agree. I think they are a formidable front, and the Cardinals, they did add some weapons on the defensive side of the ball. Their secondary leaves a little bit to be desired at the cornerback position, but I think Budda Baker's good at the safety position. They added some more talent in the linebacker room, and I think their defense should be solid as long as they can get pressure on the quarterback. Payo time, what's good? Appreciate you coming through, Payo. I was enjoying your stream you had with Sheriff Joe. That was a very insightful stream talking about your LA Rams, and you guys had an excellent show. And he says, how is the hardest working man in StreamYard doing, Jay? Haha, hope you're doing well. Man, I appreciate the kind words, man. But we're basically 48 hours from training camp, and I'm so geeked up. I'm on pins and needles. And Trey Lance, you still haven't signed your rookie deal. What's up with that, Trey? Hopefully we'll get that news in the next 24 hours, because I don't think he can't be at training camp unless he signs his contract. He can't do anything. So they're literally waiting, hours prior to the start of training camp. So the clock is ticking, Trey. Let's see. Luke Luna. Yeah, he's referring to JJ Watt. Luke says at Pale Time, how is Adrian Peterson looking in training camp? That's funny. Pale Time says, I hope AD is number 1. Ha ha. That's funny. So my number 4 player, top 10 player in the NFC West, and this goes to the top cornerback in the NFC West. There's no question about this. It's Jalen Ramsey. I think you could say he shuts down parts of his field when he's on the field. Their quarterbacks would rather throw to the other corner that lines up opposite of Jalen Ramsey. And he's proven he was great in Jacksonville. Now he's great with the LA Rams. They rewarded him. I believe he's the highest paid cornerback in the NFL, and it's well-deserved. And Jalen Ramsey is a problem for opposing offenses when he's on the field. There's no doubt about that. I think you guys kind of know what my next top 3 will be. But I'm going to tell you number 3 will be, I think, the best player on the 49ers defense, and that's Fred Warner. He's fresh off of signing a long-term extension with the 49ers. He is the highest paid middle linebacker in the NFL. We'll see how long that lasts, but he's definitely the highest paid player on the 49ers right now. And he is the leader of the defense. He's the quarterback of the defense. He wears that green dot on his helmet. He calls out the defensive plays. He is the leader on the defense. And I'm glad that Fred Warner will be in red and gold for years to come. And I think Fred Warner, you could argue, could he be number 2? Could he be number 1? But I think Fred Warner, well-deserved number 3 in the NFC West best players for sure. Let's see. Let's go with number 2. So my number 2 best player in the NFC West, y'all know it. And Pale Time is in here. He can vouch for this. It's Aaron Donald. No surprise here. He was rated the number 1 best player for Pro Football Focus. They rated him as a number 1 player in the NFL out of all players in the NFL. So there's no doubt Aaron Donald is a beast on that defensive line. He causes havoc when he's on the field. He takes on double teams. And the Rams made an excellent selection when they drafted him out of the University of Pittsburgh years ago. And he's continuing to prove that he's still the best defensive player, on the Rams and in the NFL. And opposing offensive coordinators have to account for Aaron Donald. The offensive line has to know where Aaron Donald is on every snap. And he's a hell of a player. There's no doubt about that. And my number 1 player, I'm sure you guys can guess it. Let's see. Pale Time says number 2. Haha. Love the love, but who you putting number 1 over AD? Now, so this will be an interesting discussion. Pale Time. So let's go through. Before I say my number 1, since Pale Time is in here, for anyone else who hasn't seen yet, here are my honorable mentions. So these were players who just didn't crack the top 10. I wanted to show you this Pale Time, and for anyone else who hasn't seen it, this was my honorable mention of players who have not hit that top 10, in my opinion. So, of course, Bobby Wagner, Budda Baker, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Rashawn Woods, Cooper Kupp, Rodney Hudson. Those are my honorable mentions. My top 10 list started. I had Matt Stafford at 10. Chandler Jones at 9. Nick Bosa at 8. George Kittle at 7. Deandre Hopkins at 6. Trent Williams at 5. Jalen Ramsey at 4. Fred Warner at 3. Aaron Donald at 2. And as I told people before, this was a very difficult list to make. Next time I have to do a top 10 offensive player and a top 10 defensive player list. Next time I have to do that. But this was a very difficult list. But my number one was probably the easiest player to put. I think you guys can guess it. He touches the ball on every single snap. He probably will go down as the greatest Seattle Seahawks player in their history. He will be a Hall of Famer when he retires. He will be in the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor. He will be, his number 3 will be retired, I'm almost sure. And it's Russell Wilson. I think he is the best player in the NFC West. There's no doubt he's the best quarterback. There's no discussion there. I think you could say he's the best offensive player in the NFC West, and I think he's just the best player, period, in the NFC West. And if we're talking quarterbacks, I think he would still be, in my opinion, he would still be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. What do you guys think about that instant reaction? So let's see. Tommy says, Russell Wilson. Okay. Waruna says Russell Wilson. Pale Time says, wow, okay, like I disagree, but I understand. I mean, if we were doing a draft, you had every player available in the NFC West, right? I mean, it all starts and ends. I know the game is won and lost in the trenches. I understand that totally. But, you have to have a great signal caller. He only touches the ball every snap. But yeah, I have a feeling you would take Aaron Donald number one, and I totally respect that. But if it were me, it's not even close. For me, it's Russell Wilson. He's the number one player. Obviously the number one quarterback in the NFC West. And yeah, that would be my pick. So it's like Brady says, yep. Okay. Let's see. Brady says he agrees with my pick of number one. Payo Time says Wilson is legit. Tommy says legit is Wilson. Okay. Payo Time says I would take AD and get Stafford in the next round. Well, hey, I mean, I put Stafford in the top 10. But Payo Time, since you're here, go ahead, give your top three offensive players in the NFC West, top three defensive players in the NFC West, or top three overall players. Who do you think? And I have a feeling it's going to be more Rams players than not. But yeah, if you could take the time, go ahead and do that, Payo. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And Payo Time says you have a great list there, Jay. Chris Goes Country Life. What's good? It's been a long time, man. How you doing, man? Hopefully you having a good weekend, man. I saw that you just reached 850 subscribers. Shout out to you. Football season is right around the corner. I know you can't wait. I know you're excited about your New Orleans Saints. Hopefully they have a good season. And thanks for coming through to the stream, Chris. Go. That's like Tommy says, Jay, that's a great list that I have. Okay, I appreciate it. Payo Time says, I have to think. I have a feeling who you're going to, the first two players I think you're going to pick, I think it's reasonable. Now, the third player, I don't think is an LA Ram. If we're talking about the best players in the NFC West, we're including offense and defense. I think you can have an argument for two, but the third player, I think it can't be a Ram. I don't see that. Niner Sickness says, Payo Time, he picked three Rams players. Come on, bro. That's funny. We'll see what Payo says. Crisco says, great to see your channel growing. Jay, well deserved. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. And the NFL season, like I said, is days upon us. Training camp right around the corner, and I can't wait. Who do you think? Who's going to be the starting quarterback for your New Orleans Saints? You think it'll be Jameis or Taysom? Who do you think? Let me know in them comments. Varuna says, Payo Time, I will take Wilson in first and Kittle in the second. My team can beat you. Tommy Huxley liked that comment. Chris Goes Country Life says football season needs to get here. Man, I wish it was here yesterday. But training camp for the 49ers perspective will be great to see. We've got a lot of young influx of talent, an offensive line, running back room, obviously quarterback, and in the secondary. So I'm excited to see them develop as players and, see them play in the preseason. Brady Ching says he's excited for preseason week 1, Justin Fields versus Tua. That should be interesting. That should be a great matchup. Hopefully they'll play more than like 2 series. Let's see. Payo Time. So this is Payo Time's top 3 defensive players in the NFC West. So yeah, I agree with that list. You got Fred, you got Jalen, and Aaron Donald. I would agree with that list. Looking forward to your offensive list. Tommy says, I'm just saying Payo statements backwards to annoy him. Payo, I'm your big brother. I'm sure the feelings are mutual, Tommy. Payo Time says the offense is tough. Yeah, the top 3 offense. Let's see. If I was going top 3 offense, obviously it'd be Russell. I think it would be D-Hop and probably Kittle. Those would probably be my top 3 in the NFC West. Russell, D-Hop, and Kittle. I think that would be my top 3. And I agree with your top 3 list about the defense, Payo. I agree with that as well. Brady Ching says he thinks Jameis Winston will win that starting job with the New Orleans Saints? Yeah, I think he will too. I think he's just a better passer. With Winston, hopefully he can, cut his interceptions in half. When he was starting with the Buccaneers, he had that 30 for 30 season that a quarterback never wants to have, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. I mean, if he cuts that down in half, that's an interception basically a game, which isn't great. If he could keep those interceptions under double figures, that would be even better. But yeah, I think Winston and the Saints should be pretty good. They should contend with the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers, though, still have an advantage. And watch out for the Carolina Panthers. They might be better than the Saints this year. And Payo Time says, in regards to Niner sickness, fair. Tommy Huxley says, if you start Taysom Hill, you're going 9-8. That's interesting. And Crisco says, I think Jameis Winston is going to surprise some people this year. I can see that. Yeah. I mean, he's got an excellent offensive mind who is, mentoring him and Sean Payton. And the Saints still have weapons. But as Crisco is about to mention, that Mike Thomas will miss the first 4 games. I think he's having surgery on his ankle. So, yeah, he can miss some time. So that could be a big blow to the Saints offense. And I think they'll obviously rely a lot on Alvin Kamara, though. Niners Sickness says, question, who has the most Super Bowl rings in the West? Asking for a friend. The Niner Empire. Let's see. Brady says, I saw a video from practice where Winston threw a 53-yard dime to Mike Thomas. Yeah, there's no doubt. Winston can sling the ball. I think it's just his decision-making that is in question. And I'm not sure why it took him so long to get, LASIK, because he had issue with his vision. And obviously as a quarterback, that's something very important. You're going to need your vision to be, at its peak. But it seems like he got that corrected. So we'll see if that has helped him. Chad, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. He says, Bobby Wagner, first team All-Pro last 5 years, but can't crack the top 10. Brutal. Yeah, I mean, Wags, he was tough to put out of the top 10. I gave him an honorable mention. Hopefully he'll take that to heart, Chad. I gave him an honorable mention. But yeah, I mean, so Chad, since you just came through, out of my top 10, who would you take out? Who would you take out of my top 10 to put Bobby Wagner in? So here's my top 10. I had Matt Stafford with the Rams. I had Chandler Jones, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, DeAndre Hopkins, Trent Williams, Jalen Ramsey, Fred Warner, Aaron Donald, and Russell Wilson. I have a feeling who you might say, easily take out. But, this is my top 10. And this is who I feel will be the top 10 players if they were, available via draft. But let me know in the comments section. So Payo Time says, offense, top 3. He would put Russell Wilson, makes sense. Hopkins, 2, and 3 is so hard because it's between. Wow. Payo Time with the comment. He's got the best comment for today right now. He says 3 is so hard, but it's between Kittle and Andrew Whitworth. That's preposterous. Payo Time. That's so funny. That's a good one, Payo. But I think it's quite obvious. It's for top 3 players is Russell Wilson, D-Hop, and Kittle. That's for sure. Marty F. Williams, what's good? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. Marty, how you doing on this Sunday? I'm glad you could make it through. Let's see. Niner Sickness says, Jay in the Bay, if you needed a quarterback to win you the big game, who would you take, Russell Wilson or Steve Young? Man, that's a great question. I am a young Niner fan, Niner Sickness. The knowledge that you have forgotten about the Niners is more than I know about the Niners. And I didn't see Steve Young play. I didn't see him in his peak. I think I saw him maybe the last 2 years he played with the Niners. And of course, I've seen all of Russell Wilson play. But they both have won Super Bowls. There's no doubt about that. That's a tough case. I guess I would take Steve Young, but I think Russell Wilson is right below that. But there are obviously two Hall of Famers, no doubt, and two of the best quarterbacks we've seen, easily of the last 20, 30 years. Steven says, with what Deshaun Watson went through, it's no wonder he had to report to training camp. Well, I think he's reporting. First of all, Steven, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. I think Deshaun Watson is I think he's reporting to camp because he doesn't want to get fined $50,000 per day. And he said he's reporting to camp, but he still wants to be traded. But I don't know who's going to trade for Deshaun. I don't know. He might be suspended this year. I mean, I don't think he will get suspended this year. It just depends on how many games. And Chad, great point. He says any of the 8 to 10. Yeah, you have a point. I think Bobby Wags, he's still at the top of his game. And I think you can make a case for my 8 to 10. So that was Stafford, Chandler Jones, and Nick Bosa. I mean, Bosa, he's only had one great year. Granted, Chandler Jones was hurt last year, and then Matt Stafford just got to the Rams. So yeah, I can see you could make a argument for putting Bobby Wags in the top 10. I can see that. I appreciate your perspective. Brady says, what record you have the Niners going? I think we will go 12-5. And I think the division will be some of the toughest games of our schedule. Also, there's a game against Tennessee toward the end of the season. That's going to be a tough game. I think Minnesota on this schedule will be a sneaky tough game because they got a solid quarterback. They got a good running game. They got receivers and defense. That'll be a sneaky game. But, yeah, I think we'll be 12-5. Luke says, we can't even go there. Steve Young, I'll take, but Russell is huge when it comes to the feet. Yeah, I mean, Russell, if all the quarterbacks were available today, I think it's between the top 5 quarterbacks right now today. My top 5 will probably be, Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson. I guess you'd have to put Josh Allen in there. I mean, TB12, he just won a Super Bowl. I guess you'd put him in there. And then Aaron Rodgers when healthy. I think those would probably be the top 5 you put in there. And you could, obviously, there's a debate. Some would say, based on potential, you would put Deshaun Watson, you put Lamar Jackson. But, yeah, I think those would be the top 5. But that is a very difficult question, Niner Sickness. It looks like Luke Luna agreed with Niner Sickness. Brady Ching says, if y'all are a healthy team, you guys could make the Super Bowl. I agree. And I don't think any rookie quarterback has ever taken a team to the Super Bowl. And that is, that's something very difficult to overcome. There's usually there's a huge difference between obviously college and the pros. There's a speed difference. When Trey Lance was in college, he was always the fastest player on the field. He was the most athletic player. And now to the pros, he's got to, do much better at reading defenses. Now everybody on defense, from linebackers to the secondary, is running as fast, if not faster than Trey Lance. So there's just going to be an adjustment period. And I think Jimmy is more equipped to win right now, unless Trey proves he's the better player or gives the Niners a better chance to win. But we'll see what comes to fruition in training camp and preseason. I can't wait. And Marty is giving us his top 10 NFC West players. I appreciate your perspective, Marty. So it's just like he's got at number 10, he's got Jamal Adams. Number 9, he got Bobby Wags. Number 8, he has Fred Warner. 7, he has Trent Williams. 6, DK. 5, Kittle. 4, D-Hop. 3, Jalen Ramsey. 2, Wilson, and 1, Donald. That's mine. Keynote, Jamal Adams played all season, very injured. Yeah, and that was one player I think I left off my top 10. Let me double check. Yeah. And I was struggling to put him on. I forgot to even put him on my honorable mentions, but yeah, he's definitely a player who, he is a difference maker when he's on the field for that Seahawks defense. And Jamal Adams, he's definitely a player that should be in that top 10. And I respect your list, man. Brady says, I believe in Trey, though. He has the potential to bring y'all to the Super Bowl. I believe in Trey, too. We'll see if he's ready. And time will tell. Obviously, he looks good in shirt and shorts, throwing the rock around. But we'll see what he does when there's a defense on the other side of the ball. And that could be a difference. We'll see. Niner Sickness says, I've seen both Steve Young and Russell Wilson play in their prime. Both are great quarterbacks in their own right, but Steve Young had better roster than Russell Wilson ever had. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that he had the greatest wide receiver ever, Jerry Rice. So that definitely is better than any wide receiver that the Seahawks have had. Big Chungus, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. How you doing on a Sunday? Big Chungus says, Watson went to camp. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are he did not want to get fined $50,000 a day. And he's coming to camp, but he said he still wants to get traded. So, but we'll see if a team will trade for him. And how many games will Watson be suspended this year? That's something else that a team trading for him will need to consider. Luke says, I take TB12, even though he doesn't run. I don't need a running back. I need a quarterback. So I take Tom Brady any day. The dude knows how to move a team and move it with his knowledge of the game, not his feet. There's no doubt. Tom Brady, he's the most successful quarterback, in NFL history. He's won the most Super Bowls. And yeah, all respect to TB12, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it. And I definitely respect your opinion. Payo Time says, great stream, Jay. I got to go get ready for my Moof episode tonight. Yeah, thanks for coming through, Payo. I appreciate you coming through, and I'll definitely check out your Moof episode tonight. And if you guys aren't subscribed to Payo Time, check him out. He's an LA Rams fan, very respectable guy. I enjoy his content. He's got an excellent Moof series that he's doing. He's looking for the most optimistic fan of all 32 NFL franchises. Go ahead, check out his YouTube channel, Payo Time on YouTube. David Renteria, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, man. This is your first time coming through. If you're in the stream right now, I appreciate it if you leave a thumbs up for the stream. Let YouTube and I know that you're enjoying the stream. And also hit that subscribe button, man. Appreciate you. And David says, I'm a Cardinals fan. All righty. He says, I'm a sad Cardinals fan. And Marty says, tell us why you're sad, David. Yeah, that was some other news that came out today, I believe. Came out a few hours before I started my live that Chandler Jones requested a trade. What are your thoughts on that, David? I was talking about it earlier in the stream that this is the worst timing for Chandler Jones to request a trade. Why? Well, he's coming off of a season where he only played 5 games. He only had 1 sack. And the previous season, he had 19 sacks. That would have been a good time to renegotiate his contract. But he waits until, after free agency, after the draft. And, I'd be surprised if the Cardinals extend him. He's going to be 31 years old. He's coming off of an injury-riddled season. I would say his value is not as high as it was after his 2019 season. Marty says that's why I left him on my list. Okay. And Marty says also wouldn't put Bosa in the top 10 because of small sample size. No, I respect that. That's a great point. Bosa's only had 1 great year so far. And I can see why if you would take Bosa out, put Bobby Wax in for him, I can respect that. But hey, that's my list. I respect your list, Marty. And I appreciate your opinion. David said he just wants more money. I don't know why he requested a trade. He wanted J.J. Watt. Makes no sense. Yeah, I guess he was hoping he would get extended. He's on the back 9 of his career. He's on the opposite. He's on the wrong side of 30 for an NFL player. And he's looking to get that last contract. But I don't think the Cardinals will give him that. I don't think so. I mean, he's still a good player. But I guess it all depends on what he wants to get paid. Is he wants to make top 5 edge rushing money? He's had an excellent career with the Cardinals. He's had multiple double-digit sack seasons, but I guess you could say, is he still that guy based on last year? G-Rod, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, G-Rod. G-Rod says, in regards to Trey Lance, we need to be realistic and know that he will make his share of mistakes as he gets through his learning and growing process. Even the likes of TB12 and Wilson make mistakes. That's very true, G-Rod. So are you saying that we should start Trey Lance week 1? Is that what you're saying, G-Rod? Let me know in them comments. Let me know, G-Rod. David says, I don't know why he didn't ask for more money in the 29. Yeah, that would have been the perfect time to ask for that after playing the 2019 season. You had 19 sacks. You had 2 years left on your deal. That would have been the time to renegotiate. I appreciate your contributions to the stream today, Brady. Hopefully I can have you on the next stream. And I appreciate you liking the stream. And hopefully you hit that subscribe button. David Renteria says, I think he makes $18 million. Yeah. So, I wonder what he wants to get paid, for the next few years of his contract. But right now, the timing isn't great. So it'll be interesting to see what the Arizona Cardinals do in that situation, because if Chandler Jones sits out, obviously that'll affect the Cardinals defense. So that'll be interesting to see. Marty says Arizona gets a top 5 draft pick next year. How so? Let me know. Did the Cardinals trade for another team's first round pick, or you just think the Cardinals are going to be bad next year? That's what that sounds like. It sounds like you think the Cardinals are going to be bad next year. I think the Cardinals will be good. I just think they'll be the odd team out. I think they could still win double-digit games, the Cardinals, but I think they'll be the odd man out. I think they could win maybe 10 games, but I think the Seahawks, the Niners, and Rams, I think are a little bit better. Marty says, straight up, no Chandler Jones trade type deal, but I do think he gets traded, hopefully Seattle. Yeah, I bet you like that, Marty, wouldn't you? I bet you like that, man. But y'all already brought back Carlos Dunlap, and then you went ahead and took Kerry Hyder off the 49ers' hands. So I think y'all pretty good at the edge rushing position. But I think Chandler Jones, I think he just doesn't have any leverage. He's on the wrong side of 30, coming off an injury-riddled season. He's either going to hold out or he's just going to play for the contract he has now. So, and I think he just plays for the contract he has now. David said right now he's making $15 million, so I'm guessing they're going to pay him $18 million. Yeah, we'll see. And if the Cardinals do sign him to an extension, I don't think it'll be like a 4 or 5 year deal. It might be like 2, maybe 3 years. It may be only 1 year is guaranteed because he's on the wrong side of 30. Let's see. Luke says in response to David, he says, yeah, it sucks they signed up to overpay an aging J.J. Watt, and now Jones is going to want more of the same. Jones may be gone next year or end of contract. Not good. Lots of money. Yeah. Watt and Jones, they do make a formidable front on that Cardinals D-line, and it would be in the Cardinals' best interest if Chandler Jones is a happy player and ready to play come week 1. Yeah, David says, I think he's reading all our minds. There's no way the Cardinals will trade him in the division. Yeah, no way. If they trade Chandler Jones, it would be for, a team in the AFC most likely. Marty says, we got $1 million, but what's better than $1 million pass rushers? $1 million and one. Yeah, but can you guys afford to trade for Chandler Jones? I mean, I think his cap hit is about $20 million. I'd be surprised if you guys can afford that. And you guys got to still spend the big bucks for Jamal Adams. He wants to be paid, the highest paid safety in the NFL. He's looking at 20 mil per year, Marty. The Seattle Seahawks got to pay Jamal first. Let's see. David says, in regards to Marty, he says, give us Lockett and we got a deal. Yeah, I don't think the Seahawks going to trade Tyler Lockett. That's funny. Let's see. Marty says, yeah, I don't think so. G-Rod says, in response to my comment on Trey Lance, was meaning when he does play / start, whether that's week 1 or down the road. Yeah. I mean, I think he's definitely going to, it's going to be a transition. There's going to be some growing pains. and that's expected of a rookie quarterback. And I think that's why it's good that there's no pressure for him to start. He can sit behind Jimmy G, learn the offense, and when he's ready, he'll get put in. So David says the same thing happened with Pat Pete in 2018. He wanted out, but he said he wants to stay in AZ. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he wanted to retire at Arizona Cardinals, Pat Peterson, but he also wants to, make the most money he can. So, they kind of go hand in hand. Marty says Jamal will get 17 to 20 mil. Nah, he want 22. He trying to get 22 mil. That's what I heard. Y'all better pay the man, Marty. David says, then no deal. LOL. That's funny. I appreciate everyone coming through to the stream today. Had a great turnout. Excellent turnout. Most likely I will be streaming again tomorrow night because then we'll only be a few hours away from training camp. I definitely have some ideas about the 49ers training camp. It would be great if everyone here would be present during that. Looks like I have a few more comments. David says, who's better, Jamal or Buddha? I think Buddha's probably a better all-around safety, better in coverage. Jamal gets after the quarterback pretty well, though, and he's a big hitter. But I think Buddha's probably a better all-around safety. Let's see. Luke says, trade Jamal Adams for Jones. I do that even though Jones is old. I think he's a better teammate and a great player, but the Seahawks, I'm all for them getting worse. So pay the man. Exactly. Pay the man. Yeah, I don't think the Seahawks would trade Jamal Adams for Chandler Jones. I don't think they would do that. Let's see. Marty says he's giving his take on who's better, Jamal Adams or Budda Baker. He's saying Jamal Adams. I respect that. Marty says Jamal was injured all last year, broken fingers, damaged shoulder. Yeah, and the way he plays, sometimes, he gets nicked up. But when he's healthy, he's definitely one of the best defensive players in the NFC West and in the NFL in general. But Budda Baker, he's pretty good too. Budda Baker is no slouch. Let's see. David says, if the Cardinals do trade Chandler Jones, they better get Howard from the Dolphins. That's interesting. Wow. Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know if the Dolphins would do that. I guess they get an aging edge rusher. I'm not sure off the top of my head who the edge rushers are for the Dolphins, but Chandler Jones is going to want a contract extension. Do you really want to pay a player, on the wrong side of 30 for NFL purposes? And he's coming off an injury riddled season. So I don't know if you want to extend Chandler Jones multiple years, but yeah, that'd be a great trade for the Cardinals. They get them a great corner in Xavier Howard for the Dolphins, but then he's going to want more money. He's already on, I think, a 5-year, $75 million deal. I think he has 2 years left, but he wants more money. So you'd have to extend him. So I don't know. Looking at that trade, obviously it would benefit the Cardinals to get another corner, because that's definitely an area need that you guys have, is to get a corner, but then you guys would have to pay him. Let's see. Luke says, I agree, and Budda Baker a better teammate as well than Adams. Marty says, trade Chandler Jones for N'Keal Harry cards. You want to. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's a fair trade. G-Rod, do you think Green Bay is on the verge of imploding due to the likelihood of Rodgers out and possibly also the loss of Davante Adams down the road due to contract dispute? Could be. But let's see how Jordan Love plays. Jordan Love balls out. Maybe they don't miss Aaron Rodgers that much, and maybe Davante Adams would re-sign if he knows that Jordan Love is a capable quarterback. And then Rodgers will be traded next offseason if he sits out, and then the Packers could get some draft compensation for him. But right now it's not looking good. But it's not like Davante Adams is sitting out. He's still going to play. He's still going to be the number one target for Jordan Love. David says, trade Russ to the Bears for Allen Robinson. Y'all know y'all want to. I don't think that's going to come to fruition. But I appreciate everyone coming through. There were a lot of contributions in the chat from David. He was new today. I appreciate you coming through. We had G-Rod, we had Marty, we had Luke, CG Ruthless Sports was in here, Payo Time, Monica was in here. Let's see who else we had. We had Brady, also someone else who was new. I appreciate you coming through to the stream. It's always good to have new people coming through and talk about the Niner Empire and also talk about their team as well. Niner Sickness was here. Big Chunges. Let's see. Chad was in here. Steven was in here. Crisco's Country Life. Good to see him in here. Waruna, another new person who contributed to the stream. I appreciate you coming through. Waruna. Tommy Huxley, familiar face. He was here. Let's see who else was here. And that's about it. That's all the comments that will load up. But I appreciate everyone who came through to the stream. Let's see. Marty says 3 firsts and A-Rob, and we got a deal. David says history will repeat itself just like Rodgers and Brett, probably. Luke Luna says next time. Jay, great convo. I appreciate you coming through, Luna. Appreciate your contributions to the stream. Excellent stream. Kelch Chronicles, what's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream. I'm just ending the stream. Yep, and good old Tommy was here. Hey, Kelch, give me your top 3 NFC West players. Give me your top 3 NFC West players if you're still on before I head on out. Let me know your thoughts on that. David Richeria says peace. Appreciate you coming through. And I will be doing a live stream tomorrow night, probably around, I would say, probably like 5 p.m. Pacific time. Actually, wait. Actually, no. Yeah, I have to see about the time. I have to see. I'll make a thumbnail, though. You guys will see it on YouTube. But yeah, I'll definitely will try to stream tomorrow night because, you know, the NFL training camp is only hours away. And Trey Lance has yet to sign his rookie contract. That's definitely a problem. Hopefully we hear news about it tomorrow because he can't come to camp if he doesn't have his contract signed. So I'm intrigued to see that. Oh yeah, Kel says I just tapped in to hear you say the IU show. Appreciate you coming through, Kelts. But yeah, Trey Lance has yet to sign his rookie deal. And hopefully we get some breaking news about that tomorrow. Let's see. Kelt says best players in the whole NFC West. Yeah, so go ahead and put your top 3 NFC West offensive players. You can put your top 3 NFC West defensive players. And then you could do a top 3 NFC West offensive players if you like. Because that was my topic today. I did my list of the top 10 NFC West players. And David says, what were your thoughts on Brady playing with the MCL? I mean, my thoughts were the legend of TB12 continues. Like, you know, the guy, what can't he do? I mean, he's got it all. Tom Brady, he's got it all. You know, he's got his 7th Super Bowl ring. He played last year on a torn MCL. I mean, man, the legend of TB12 continues. And that was very, you know, he toughed it out. You couldn't tell he was hurt when he was playing. So, you know, he did what he had to do to stay on the field, and I definitely respect him for that. Kelt says he likes it. But yeah, I plan on doing a stream tomorrow night sometime, talking about the training camp headlines or stories. And then training camp starts Tuesday. But the players won't be on the field, at least for the 49ers perspective. The players won't be on the field on Tuesday. They'll basically just be doing, I think they'll have team meetings and possibly doing physicals on Tuesday. And the first day the players will be on the field will be Wednesday. And fans are allowed to view the training camp. So that's definitely definitely a good thing because I've never been to a training camp before. So hopefully I can try to get out there. David says 49ers could have gotten Brady and Rodgers. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Tom Brady was passed over by 6 times by some teams, and Rodgers was passed over at least 20 plus times by every team in the NFL. So yeah, but who knows if Rodgers could have been the same quarterback if he was drafted by the Niners. I mean, who knows? It's easy to say that now, but we'll never really know. So we'll never really know. But yeah, I appreciate everyone coming through. Celts Chronicles, let me know of your list. And David says they were both 49ers fans too. Yeah, a lot of people growing up, they were 49ers fans, because of the golden era of the 80s. And that I wish I would have been able to see it. But I'm a little bit younger. And unfortunately, I have not seen the 49ers win a Super Bowl. That's crazy. But I've not seen the 49ers win a Super Bowl, and hopefully that'll change this year. Celts Chronicle says Aaron Donald and Bosa, the twins in Seattle, because of their story. Okay. I definitely respect that, Kels. Hey, Kels, who do you think is going to start week 1? You think Trey Lance should start week 1, get rid of Jimmy G? What are your thoughts on that, man? Let me know in the comments section. And very excited for training camp. Then there's preseason. There's only 3 preseason games left, or excuse me, there'll only be 3 preseason games. Hopefully we get to see a lot of Trey Lance. I think Jimmy G should play some games, or at least he'll play like a handful of snaps. But hopefully Trey Lance gets a lot of the snaps so we can see what we have in the young rook. Waruna says our time will come. We will win the Super Bowl with Trey. I feel you. Celts Chronicle says, I said months back, week 3 for Trey. Okay, week 3 for Trey. All right. I respect that. And they're definitely – I remember Kyle Shanahan said that there would not be a camp battle at the quarterback position. I think he said that recently, but, we'll see. I think it's good that we drafted Trey. He is the future, and I think he'll definitely push Jimmy to be better at least, this year. And I think that will help the team. But I appreciate everyone coming through. I appreciate everyone leaving a thumbs up for the stream. And I appreciate everyone subscribing. And it's been a pleasure to converse with everyone. Shout out to all the people that were in the chat today, especially the new people who came through for the first time. And I appreciate everyone's support. Tell your friends, tell your family about Jay and the Bay. And I think that will be me signing off for now. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Appreciate everyone coming through to support Jay in the Bay. See you guys in the next one tomorrow night. See you then.